So a bit of feedback since the last episode. So I did an episode 10 days ago after not doing an episode for over a year. So can't go over all the feedback, but one of the common themes were, Damon, thank you, it's nice to have you back, but what have you been doing for the last year? Why did you not do the show? Like, what have you been up to, etc., etc. So I thought to myself, self, yes, they did cross my mind. I thought I would give a thing. But you know what? I thought to myself, I'm not going to do that because it's like taking the easy way out. I mean, I could easily sit here for an hour and tell you what's happened for the last year. But then it's a bit, self-indulgent, and you may not be interested in all the details. Suffice it to say, almost went on a sabbatical, kind of like a mental sabbatical. And as I said in last when I did my last episode, I said, I've been doing a show in my head. So I've been, I've been imagining, and I've been in my mind thinking over what I'd be doing. So I've been doing like an imaginary podcast of keeping up the Kalvaris, which I know sounds weird. I know it's kind of strange. So I kind of like was thinking, how am I going to? I've been procrastinating. I've been meaning to restart this thing for months and months and months, and I thought, how am I going to do it? I thought to myself, I like to do it every single day, or Monday to Friday, because then you're in a rhythm, and it's actually easier. It's actually easier to do a daily show than to do a weekly show, believe it or not. Because if you do a show Monday to Friday, you're in the flow, you've got a theme, one episode or one show flows into the other, you finish off talking about your condition you might have, and then the next episode you carry on, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. And then the next day you talk about visiting the doctor. So to do a show just out of the blue once a week is actually more challenging, believe it or not. So I've been thinking, I'll just do a weekly show, but then I'll keep it short. I thought to myself, when you see someone's done a show every single day and every show is 40 minutes long, it's a bit overwhelming. Who's got the time? It's too much of a commitment to watch everything. It's like sometimes there'll be a TV show on Netflix or wherever where I haven't watched the show for years, and suddenly I got 7 seasons to catch up on. You can't always do it. I picked up on Tully's Diaries. You know Tully's Diaries? Now it's season 3. But I hadn't watched season 1 or 2. So I was in Cape Town recently, and I'm sitting with my mother-in-law, Lorraine, and we're watching Tully's Diary, but the 3rd season. Then we got into episode 6, and I got a bit tired out. It's a very good series, very good production, but I thought, it's too much. It's too much. I still have to watch season 1 and 2. Am I ever going to get there? So same thing with perhaps with this podcast. So, going to restructure, re-energize, rebrand the whole thing. As you can see, other feedback. Somebody said, Damon, why don't you do product placement? And then you can get sponsors, product placement. I thought to myself, Fragrance Garden Collection. That's us. But then I thought to myself, you know what? First, you need a lot of viewers. So at the back, you might be able to see I've got Flora Margarine. But I thought I'd do it subtly. And it's upside down, and they're empty containers. Oh, this is a Fragrance Garden. Okay, it says La Perfumerie on it, but this is Fragrance Garden Collection.co.za. There you go. Very nice. Thank you, Bernice. That was Bernice's hand. So you got to be subtle, like I was there. Can I have Bernice spreading some flora on some toast? Could I have my daughter Alexa making herself a sandwich with flora and with some nice cheddar cheese on top of it? Yes, we could go that way. But no. It's all about integrity. Going to be subtle. Like that Sir Juice bottle is turned around. So you can't see the Sir Juice in the background. Am I going to say that this cup, this mug, was bought from Checkers? No, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, enough of that preamble. What is on my mind? There's so many things. Are we going to do a reflection of the year 2022? Probably not. Are we going to look at highlights? Perhaps. I was watching that sports channel on DSTV, so Super Sport Blitz, and they showed their 5 top sports events of the year. So according, they did the tennis, Nadal winning the French Open, Roland Garros, the Polish lass Swiatek winning, I think she won Wimbledon. Then they mentioned the World Cup soccer at the end. There's nothing on cricket, athletics. We had the World Athletics Championships this year. They didn't go near there. So, 2022, yes, very eventful. I think the major thing that stood out from 2022, perhaps, I think Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine, or as Vladimir Putin puts it, the special military operation that happened in February, or was it January? I think that's the top story of the year.
What about the Queen?
I think it overtook COVID. Well, the Queen dying, not so much.
But didn't COVID...
In fact, I had a dream last night. I dreamt that I met the Queen, that she was alive and everything. I even made her a cup of tea. And she was in my old house, in my kitchen where I grew up. And you know, my mother, she stayed, I got to give my mother a feather in her cap. She stayed in character, even in my dreams. She was like cold and distant. She didn't really pay much attention to the Queen. She didn't care that the Queen was in her kitchen. That's quite something. Bernice, I interrupted you.
I was just looking for a gap.
Come a bit closer and talk louder, yeah?
I was just looking for a gap to say that COVID wasn't an issue this year because COVID just kind of disappeared. It slunk away. No one ever announced that COVID had ended. It just sort of stopped being discussed.
Well, I think the vaccine was working.
But there was no closure to it.
There is no closure because it's still around.
Yes, but there's no closure to it in the sense that it was so devastating and the whole world was turned upside down. And now all of a sudden there's this big, excuse me, is lacuna.
Ooh, maybe you got COVID.
There's this huge lacuna gap.
No, I wouldn't go with lacuna. You know what a lacuna is? You know what a lacuna is?
Isn't it
Our bones have got lots of lacuna, empty gaps of air.
But then I think that's fair enough.
Keep it strictly with regards to bones. No one uses lacuna in that kind of context. But anyway, yes?
There's just an absence of discussion about something that
Let's call it a vacuum. A vacuum.
But doesn't a vacuum suck?
Look.
I just think it's air. There's air. No one's talking about it.
Well, funnily enough, all the conspiracy theorists, all the people that say that the vaccine is dangerous, they're still there on social media carrying on and on about it. So there's been over, at least conservatively, over 4 billion... Over 4 billion...
Vaccine.
Vaccine administered... That the vaccine is being administered to people over 4 billion times over the year. If it was such a deadly, terrible vaccine, wouldn't there be millions and millions of people dropping dead? And I don't think that's the case. But people, these conspiracy theorists are still carrying on about it. So in that way, COVID is still around on social media, that is. Yeah. Bernice? Hello, yes?
Oh, was that? I suppose so. It's just, it's more, I don't know, it seems ancillary.
So are you implying that in hindsight, COVID was over, it wasn't such a big deal, and we shouldn't have made such a fuss about it?
I'm so scared to actually give you my opinion because you'll lose your mind.
So you don't think over 6.5 million people died of COVID over around the world? So that's not at all relevant or interesting or
no, it is
of some kind of significance.
I think it is of significance.
Okay, so how am I going to lose my mind? What are you going to say that's going to make me lose my mind?
I don't think every variant of COVID was the same. I think some were extremely bad and some were.
But we know that. That's not to be disputed.
And I don't think you can compare it to the Spanish flu. I don't think you can compare it to a range of, if you get Ebola, you will die.
Funnily enough, not. There's now a vaccine for Ebola,
okay, prior.
And prior it was 99% or 95% that you're going to die.
Okay.
Now it's gone down considerably.
So here's the thing.
Because they've developed a vaccine.
Right. So what was your chance of dying if you got COVID? Was it a 99% chance?
It varied. No, it varied. I can't remember the exact figures, but when it first came out in 2019, the mortality rate, if memory serves me correct, I can't remember exactly, but I think the mortality rate was about 20%, maybe. I can't remember, but it was a relatively high mortality rate compared to other illnesses, other diseases. Yeah. But the main issue about COVID, why everything had to be turned upside down and there were lockdowns, etc., is that it's an airborne disease. In other words, you contract it through the air. So when people start comparing it, when ignoramuses start comparing it to malaria and AIDS and cholera, and it's stupid because those diseases are spread differently.
Well, speaking about stories, good stories, wasn't the malaria vaccine invented this year?
Well, developed. We don't use the word invented.
Developed,
yeah, the malaria vaccine was developed, and I was thinking of getting the malaria vaccine, but I just didn't see a gap in the opportunity. Do you think we can pop into Discam and get the malaria vaccine? Is that possible?
I think that a lot of South Africans have malaria, have had malaria. Do you develop immunity to malaria?
No, but funnily enough, a lot of people in Africa, north of South Africa, they have a condition called sickle cell anemia, where their red blood cells are in the shape of sickles instead of round. And as a result, the malaria virus, I can't remember the details, but the malaria organism can't enter those red blood cells. So those people are immune to malaria. But they're immune to malaria purely because of that. As far as I know, there isn't an immunity to malaria, but there are a lot of people that for some reason mosquitoes don't go near them.
Or if they get malaria, they're not necessarily going to die.
There are good medications, that's right. Yeah. But still, I mean, a lot of people still die of malaria.
So did you enjoy Cape Town?
Yes, back from Cape Town, a little bit of feedback from Cape Town. You come back from holiday from Cape Town, and people say, "Oh, how was Cape Town? Did you go up Lion's Head? Did you go up Table Mountain? Did you go to Kirstenbosch? Did you do the wine farms? Did you do the wine routes? What was it like?
Clifton.
Did you go to Clifton? Was it busy? Did you go to Mariner's Wharf in Hart Bay and all that kind of thing? How was Cape Town? Did you go to restaurants? No. Wasn't that kind of a thing. My Cape Town trip was more of a family thing. My in-laws, my Bernice's parents, Harry and Lorraine, they live in Cape Town. And our daughter Alexa, she's 10.5 years old, and she hasn't seen the grandparents for a while, so it was mainly just to see the grandparents. So there we were. I must say it was very nice. Being with family, it could be awkward. I mean, to be honest with you, just between you and me, I'm not sure if my in-laws, I don't know whether they like me or don't like me or they just tolerate me. It's hard to tell. One thing I can say is I don't think they're huge fans.
Well, I feel the same.
About what? My father's dead, my mother's deaf.
No, I feel the same that's how they feel about me.
Oh, and you're their daughter?
Yes.
Oh.
So what was very interesting is...
But they were very nice.
Very nice.
They're very hospitable,
yes.
But I just got the feeling...
But why didn't I go down?
Because this is it, Bernice. Your personality, I'm sorry to say this, but you don't want to avoid conflict. You will see an opportunity if your mother or your father says something that you don't like, you won't just ignore it and move on and leave the room. You will tackle them and there's a big fight. So after 3 days, you would have been fighting. Would have been a disaster, absolute disaster. I was there with your parents and I saw opportunities. And I thought, if Bernice is here, there was one thing I did which I shouldn't have done. After the 3rd or 4th day, I noticed your father was wearing the same tracksuit pants. So I thought I'd make a joke. Big mistake. Don't joke with Harry. I don't think he likes my jokes. I said to him, Harry, have you got a cupboard full of those tracksuit pants like Matlock? With all his grey suits, or is this what you... So he looks at me and he says, no. He says, no. 2 pairs. 1 pair is just similar to this pair. And then he walked on. And I said, like Matlock? And he said, yes.
I don't think he knows who Matlock is.
No, he knows Matlock.
Okay.
Matlock, in the 80s during the apartheid, Matlock was like today's Breaking Bad. Matlock was like, was gold. You watched Matlock.
So that's why I didn't go down to Cape Town, because I took one.
Exactly. Like your mother says to me, Damon, Alexa should really be wearing a bra all the time. Oh, you would have gone, you would have exploded. I said to her, Lorraine, we know that.
I can hear you too.
We know that.
I'm trying to defend you, Alexa.
Thank you.
I smacked him.
Thank you.
We know that. It's the laws. We know that. What can we do? We're not idiots. We're not idiots. We know that must be done, but we're not idiots.
Maybe he'll edit that out.
I'll edit that out. Don't worry. I'll edit that out, Alexa.
Good.
Yeah.
You won't.
She thinks we're idiots. Yeah. So anyway, Bernice, you would have taken those little subtle, inconsequential events and you would have made them explode. Am I right?
I don't know, probably.
Don't tell me how to be a mother, and there would be a big thing.
I don't
I'm
know.
right.
No, you know what? Maybe, maybe not. But the fact is, eventually it would all accumulate, and that's why I took one for the team. And I decided you two could have a nice long holiday in Cape Town by yourselves, and I would stay up here and just catch up on stuff, tidy the house.
People ask questions.
Feed the dogs.
People ask questions. The neighbors say, "Where's Bernice?"
Yeah, but the neighbor...
And I must look at the neighbors, and I basically gave them a name. The name is basically almost the same explanation I just gave now.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you should just be upfront about it. And the fact that as a family we don't have pretenses, I think it's admirable. We recognize our weaknesses and we don't push situations.
There you go.
But my mother she's got a 3rd daughter now, the next door neighbor. She loves the next door neighbor.
It's a healthy relationship. At first I thought, Uchika
Muchika.
Very, like, what's it? I thought familiarization, but it works both ways. And it's a 2-way street. They're all very friendly.
And you can't choose your family. And this is it. You can be born to a mother and a father and not be able to get on with them.
If
a good neighbor comes along, it's wonderful.
They get on very well. It was quite something. Imagine if I had neighbors like that. Wow.
Well, we do have neighbors. We've got the
not at the level.
Jamie.
Oh, mind you.
She's like my daughter, my older daughter.
Yeah, though, that's another neighbor that comes quite often. Okay, I think that was a good exercise in a second episode of Keeping Up with the Kalvaris. I gave a bit of feedback. Can't give all the feedback. Some of the feedback was negative. So I'm not gonna. Maybe I'll bring up maybe bring up the negative feedback next time. But we'll see. I thought that went all right. And maybe give me a bit of feedback. What the hell?